Hi there, my name is Tabitha Spitzer and I'm going to be talking about internet gaming disorder. Internet gaming is a popular online gaming luxury activities nowadays. Those activities are particularly the massive multiplayer online role-playing games, also known as MMORPGs. They deliver pleasure to the player, a sense of accomplishment, social interaction, and immersed into the gaming world. However, extensive online gaming may have a negative consequence by limiting real-life experiences. Because of that negative consequence and the similarity to other addictive behaviors, the loss of control over online gaming was termed Internet Gaming Disorder, or IGD. Among internet-based games, MMORPGs are the most complex and require the intense of social interaction. They're very popular and enjoyable luxury activities in this time as well. However, those players reveal a high 27.5% rate of IGD. And playing MMORPGs is the most frequently cited activity in studies of internet addiction. A MMORPG provides a immersed into a virtual environment in which users interact with one another and with non-player characters. Some of the top of MMORPG games that I know of is also called WoW or World of Warcraft. On to the next slide. Internet gaming disorder is a condition for further study in the DSM-5 from 2013. That means that it's not an official disorder in the DSM, but one which the American Psych Association requires additional research. Upon further research, the APA may or may not decide to make this disorder official in the future edits of the DSM. Even though it's not a main disorder in the DSM yet because it needs further study, they do have a list of symptoms for this disorder. As you know, most disorders have certain levels of severity, and this one does too, to moderate to mild to severity. And they are measured by how much game playing the person does and how it affects their overall life at that time. And to be diagnosed with this disorder, you must meet 5 of the 9 criteria within a year. The first one is preoccupation and obsession over gaming. So subjects with IGD say that they have to at least do this activity at least 3 times a week. 2 is the withdrawal symptoms when not playing online games. Withdrawal symptoms in IGD should be defined as symptoms that occur at least 3 hours after the most recent gaming activity. And the only way to get rid of those withdrawals are to go back to that game and play more games. And also, although 86.7% of IGD subjects say they could not just play games for 2 to 3 days. So they couldn't have even 1 to 2 days without playing games without having severity of withdrawal symptoms. 3, a build-up for tolerance. More time needed to spend on games. The feeling of the unsatisfaction, they don't like it, so they think it can be fixed by having more gameplay in their life. 4, this person has stopped trying to play games but failed to do so. IGD usually has attempt to stop or control their online gaming because of the repeated negative consequences. So they know they have negative consequences, but they always fail or are not successful after a short period of time of absence of not playing the game. 5, the person has a loss of interest in other life activities such as hobbies. So if they once like woodwork, that would be no longer in the equation because they don't have time to do that activity and have time to, do their excessive online gaming. 6, a person has to continue the overuse of internet even with the knowledge of how much it impacts their lives and other people's lives. So they do know that this is a big affection, but they just can't stop. It's not how it works. And 7, the people lie to others about their internet usage in gaming. They are willing to lie to the ones they love about how much they do gaming because they feel ashamed of it. So they will not tell them. And 8, the person using internet gaming use this to relieve anxiety or guilt. It's a way to escape. So they have a thing called pathological gaming behavior. It's a definition of using gaming to escape basic life hassles and disruptions. And it's also strongly associated with online gaming. This association suggests that escape is a very important part of IGD. Escape is a main core of it, and it's a main core into a lot of addiction behaviors. If the individual turns to online gaming at the first and most important option of relieving that stress. And lastly, but not leastly, number 9, the person has a lot to put at risk and opportunities or relationship because of the internet gaming. They are willing to sacrifice their job, their boyfriend or girlfriend, family relations, just to play online gaming. So they suggest that this one particular should be a main core of IGD in the diagnosis. And furthermore, most people have other lists for this disorder as well. Found another one that had 4 with 3 main cores of IGD. So the first one is extensive use, often associated with loss of sense of time and basic drives. 2, withdrawal, including feelings of anger, tension, and/or depression when the computer is not accessible. 3 is tolerance, including the need for better equipment, more time, more software, and etc. 4 is negative repercussions, including arguing, lying, poor achievements, and social isolation and fatigue. And the 3 base cores they suggest for this is, of course, withdrawal, loss of control, and conflicts. However, internet gaming is a popular reconstruction activity among the younger generation, and a higher cutoff point is needed to discriminate between addiction and non-addiction players. That includes me as well, because I do play games, but I do not play them in excessive amounts of time or effects to my school and education. Right now in the DSM, after I told you all the symptoms, the internet gaming disorder is most common in male adolescents between 12 and 20 years old. According to studies, it is that internet gaming disorder is mostly prime in Asian countries than in North America and Europe. IGD is also most common in males, as I already told you. With older age, the male has lower self-esteem or low satisfaction with daily lives, are associated with greater severity of addiction in males, but not very much in females. I decided to include this slide so people would understand why people get addicted to these MMORPG games. So there's 5 motivations. They are accomplishment, socialization, immersion to the game, relaxation, and escape of reality. Reports suggest that people who play online games such as MMORPGs are attracted to online environment because it provides that pleasure that I told you about earlier. MMORPGs have extended and well-designed virtual worlds. Players can express themselves in ways that would cause them discomfort in real life because of their appearance, gender, sexuality, and or their age. An MMORPG environment also enables users to experience teamwork in a fun and engageable manner. Stronger beliefs in the realism of the games and more time spending playing these games increase online support, but in the long run, it decreases the offline of social support in the real world. In this slide, we're going to be talking about personality traits that associate with IGD and also risk factors for it as well. First, for personality, narcissism, not surprising, sensational seeking, trait anxiety, state anxiety, aggression, low consciousnesses, and low extrovert are associated with IGD. As for risk factors for IGD include high impulsation and also sensitive seeking and narcissism as well. And you may have realized risk factors for this is similar to risk factors for substance use disorder. IGD shares several characteristics with substance use disorder, including personality traits that I just discussed and the escape mechanism as well. Therefore, the two disorders may share similar underlying mechanisms. Although several studies report association between internet addiction and substance use disorder, the literature of IGD and substance use disorder is limited at this time. They need further studies or need to demonstrate a direct association to figure out why. Why do these two disorders have such similar factors and personality traits? In this slide, it shows stuff about the brain and for this disorder, DLPFC, also shown on the slide on the bottom, and pyrhippocampus are particular makers of cue and dense brain activities and current in the addiction of online gaming. As you see on the slide, greater than normal are the sessions over here. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this because I cannot pronounce them, but they're right on the slide. And there are also lower than normal, and that is underneath the greater than normal part of the slide. However, conclusions regard that brain mechanisms of IGD are premature because of course, the several limitations of the studies. For example, IGD subjects analyzed in the studies have extreme hypogenic creativities such as wide variety online gaming activities, and most of the subjects in the study are perfect online gaming performance, which have been impossible with impairment in the cognitive functions such as decision making, attention, concentration, and response inhabitants. Although those daily functions in the real world was impaired, it should be made cautiously until the diverse is evaluated further and confirmed by a behavior analysis. So of course they need further studies on this matter. In this next slide we talk a lot about percentages of IGD, but sadly this is all just the studies they have done so far, but that means they really don't have a good percentage of IGD because it's not official disorder in a DSM right now. So the percentages are from 1.5% to 11.9%. So there is not an official percentage for this disorder yet. And also the definition of this disorder, because it's very difficult to separate the disorder from a casual gamer. For example, the major desires that lead to extended internet gaming in adolescence include the accomplishment of success, creativity of social relationships, and immersion to the environment, like I have discussed it, are the same desires that lead to IGD. But without the criteria for defining the intensity and the frequency of the online gaming behavior, behaviors are simply expectations might be misdiagnosed as IGD. So they got to make sure to get that definition straightened out, especially if it goes into a future DSM. My next slide is treatments, but the ones listed down here are just things that have kind of worked for studies but were ripped off because it has certain effects on the subject. So at this time, there is no treatment at this time because it needs to be further studied. Last but not leastly, our last slide talks about further studies that they need to do for IGD. The first one is about the guidelines and about the intensity and the frequency of the disorder. They definitely need to do studies and data to make sure that guideline is supported with data, of course. Second is the studies need to see the functional impairment of IGD. Do further study on that as well. Third, they need to do causal relationships between IGD with certain disorders such as ADHD, depression, hostile and social phobias. 4, they need image studies of the addictions that apply to the DSM-5 criteria, and they need a reasonable hypothesis and an integrated design to prove that this disorder deserves to be called a disorder. 5, they need gender indifference. As you can tell, I only talked about the males, but what about females? Females like gaming. I know I do. They also need to do cross-cultural studies as well to compare IGD to different countries. And lastly, they need studies to stabilize treatment, such as cognitive behavior therapy and medications for IGD, because there is no treatment because we don't fully understand this disorder. But till then, that's what needs to be further worked on. Well, I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I hope that you understand IGD a little bit better, and hope you have a great day, and thank you for listening to my presentation. Hello there, my name is Tabitha Spitzer, and I'm going to be talking about internet gaming disorder. Internet gaming is a popular online gaming luxury activities nowadays. Those activities are particularly the massive multiplayer